There comes a point in life when you realize that not everyone deserves access to your time, your energy, or your peace of mind. One of the most exhausting types of people you will ever encounter are the constant complainers. These are the individuals who always have a problem, no matter the circumstances and no matter how many solutions are offered. To them, life is one long series of misfortunes, and instead of searching for gratitude, growth, or change, they cling tightly to their misery like it's a badge of honor. Spending too much time around them doesn't just affect how you feel in the moment, it begins to shape how you see the world. Their negative energy is like a cloud that drifts over you until you begin to feel it too. And before you know it, their problems have become your problems and their darkness begins to dim your light. What makes complainers so difficult to deal with is that they are often not looking for solutions. They don't want advice, they don't want encouragement, and they don't want perspective. What they want is someone to sit with them in their misery, nod along, and validate their feelings over and over. And the truth is, if you allow it, you become a participant in their cycle of negativity. They offload their burden onto you and then walk away feeling lighter while you are left carrying the weight they refuse to put down. This pattern drains your spirit and distracts you from the people and opportunities that could actually uplift you. When you spend time with constant complainers, notice how quickly your energy shifts. You could be in a good mood, inspired, motivated to work toward your dreams, and just one conversation can rob you of that joy. You begin to feel frustrated, heavy, and even irritated without realizing why. That's because energy is contagious and constant negativity is one of the most toxic forces you can allow into your circle. Protecting your peace means being aware of how people make you feel and making the conscious choice to step away from those who drain instead of those who pour back into you. Sometimes we justify keeping complainers around because we feel obligated. Maybe they're family, maybe they're old friends, or maybe they've been in your life so long that you don't know how to set boundaries. But here's the truth. Just because someone has access to you doesn't mean they should have unlimited access to your time and your emotions. You cannot afford to let people rent space in your mind when they only bring chaos. You deserve to be surrounded by people who inspire you, who challenge you in healthy ways, and who add value to your life instead of subtracting from it. It's important to understand that being compassionate doesn't mean being a dumping ground. You can care about someone and still protect your energy. You can listen occasionally without becoming their permanent audience. But when you notice that someone always complains and never grows, always points out problems and never seeks solutions, that's when you must remind yourself that your time is precious. The minutes you spend listening to endless negativity are minutes you could have invested in your goals, in your joy, in your peace, or with people who actually uplift you. Life is too short to waste on constant complainers. You can love them from a distance, wish them well, and still choose not to let their darkness swallow your light. At the end of the day, your peace, your happiness, and your energy are worth more than listening endlessly to someone who refuses to take responsibility for their own life. Protecting your time from them is not cruelty. It is wisdom, and it is the very thing that allows you to live fully, freely, and with the joy you deserve. Another type of person who is not worth your time is the chronic taker, the one who only reaches out to you when they need something. These are the people who are quick to call when they need a favor, when they're short on money, when they need advice, or when they're in trouble. But you'll notice they're never around when it's your turn to need support. Relationships like this are deeply unbalanced, and if you allow them to continue, they quietly drain you of your generosity, your time, and your emotional strength. At first, you may not even notice it because giving feels good and helping others can be fulfilling. But over time, you realize that with this type of person, the giving never stops and it is never reciprocated. The problem with takers is that they see relationships as opportunities to get rather than to give. They don't come into your life with the mindset of adding value. Instead, they come with open hands, always expecting you to fill them, whether it's material things, emotional reassurance, or simply your attention. They operate from a place of taking without balance. And the danger here is that if you don't set boundaries, you'll find yourself becoming drained, resentful, and even questioning your worth. It's not because you don't love to give, but because giving without receiving becomes an empty cycle. A relationship where one person is always pouring and the other is always drinking will eventually run dry. What makes this type of relationship particularly damaging is the illusion of friendship or closeness that takers create. They often mask their taking with charm or flattery. They'll tell you how much they appreciate you, how much you mean to them, how they don't know what they do without you. And for a moment, you feel valued. But as soon as they get what they need, they disappear until the next time they're in want. It becomes clear that their appreciation is conditional, only showing up when it benefits them. And that realization stings because true relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or even professional, are built on reciprocity, not one-sided convenience. Spending too much time around takers not only drains your resources, it also teaches you to expect less than you deserve. You start normalizing the idea that it's okay for people not to show up for you, that it's acceptable for people to only value you when you're useful. This mindset is dangerous because it sets the tone for all of your relationships moving forward. You may find yourself stuck in cycles of always being the giver, the fixer, the helper, without ever experiencing the beauty of someone who gives back to you in equal measure. Protecting your time means recognizing that this kind of imbalance is not love, it is not friendship, and it is not something you should tolerate. The truth is, people who only take without ever giving back will never change unless they are forced to confront the consequences of their behavior. That consequence often comes when you decide to step back, stop giving so freely, and create boundaries. It is not cruel to do so, it is necessary. It is how you preserve your energy for the people who genuinely deserve it, the ones who will meet you halfway, who will pour into you as much as you pour into them. When you invest your time and energy into those relationships, you not only feel valued, but you thrive. You realize that love, friendship, and connection should never be about what someone can extract from you, but about how both of you grow together. Together, your time is sacred, and if you give it away to those who only take, you leave little left for those who truly matter. Recognize the chronic takers for who they are. Release the guilt of saying no and redirect your energy toward people who uplift and enrich your life. In the end, letting go of one-sided relationships is not loss, it is freedom. Another kind of person who isn't worth your time is the constant complainer, the one who always has something negative to say, no matter what's happening. You probably know someone like this, the person who can turn even the brightest day into a gloomy one, who always sees the worst in people's situations and opportunities. At first, you may feel sympathetic, wanting to be there for them, offering encouragement or solutions. But soon you realize that their complaints aren't about solving anything. They're about feeding a cycle of negativity that they've chosen to live in. And when you allow yourself to stay around it long enough, their negativity becomes contagious, slowly seeping into your own mindset and weighing you down. Complaining is not the same as venting. Venting is a release of frustration, often temporary, and it can actually be healthy. But complaining is a lifestyle. The constant complainer doesn't want change. They want sympathy. They thrive on attention, drama, and pity. They will tell you how unfair life is, how hard everything seems, how no one understands them, and how nothing ever works out. And when you offer solutions or positive perspectives, they quickly dismiss them, almost as if holding on to the problem is more comforting than considering the possibility of change. Being around this type of person leaves you feeling drained because no matter how much encouragement you give, it's never enough to pull them out of their cycle. What makes this particularly dangerous is that you can begin to carry their heaviness in your own heart. Their constant complaints can shape the way you start to view your own life. Suddenly, you might find yourself focusing more on what's wrong than what's right, looking for flaws instead of blessings, and expecting problems instead of opportunities. Negativity, like positivity, is powerful and infectious. When you allow complainers too much access to your time and energy, you risk adopting their outlook and lowering the quality of your own mindset. Another thing to consider is how much energy it takes to always be the one trying to lift a complainer. It can feel like an endless job of pulling someone out of the mud, only for them to jump right back in. You try to inspire them, show them the good side of life, or encourage them to take action, but they stay stuck in the same place because they don't actually want solutions. They want to sit in their complaints. The truth is, life is already challenging enough without attaching yourself to someone who chooses to live in misery. Protecting your energy means recognizing when someone is committed to their negativity and stepping back before it begins to dim your own light. It's important to note that protecting your time from constant complainers doesn't mean you stop caring about them. It means you refuse to let their outlook become your outlook. You can care for someone without carrying their burdens, and you can love them without letting them drag you down. Boundaries become essential here because without them, complainers will keep pouring their negativity into your space, leaving little room for your peace and positivity. When you release yourself from the grip of constant complainers, you make room for joy. You make room for conversations that uplift, for relationships that bring balance, and for people who face life with courage instead of complaints. Life is too short to constantly surround yourself with voices that only echo negativity. Choose instead to surround yourself with those who see challenges but also see solutions, who acknowledge struggles but also embrace gratitude. These are the people who will help you rise, not weigh you down. At the end of the day, your time is precious, and if someone spends theirs endlessly complaining without any desire for growth, then they simply don't deserve yours. Another type of person who isn't worth your time is the one who is always taking but rarely giving. The kind of person who drains your energy, your resources, and your kindness without ever considering how they can contribute in return. These are the users, the ones who view relationships as opportunities for what they can get out of them rather than what they can build together. They are often charming, persuasive, and at times even make you feel important, but their actions reveal a selfish pattern. When they need something, they know exactly where to find you, but when you're the one in need, they are nowhere to be found. Being around someone like this can create a dangerous imbalance. At first, you may not notice it. You might convince yourself that you're just being a good friend, a caring partner, or a supportive family member. But over time, you begin to see the truth. The relationship feels one-sided. You are always showing up, giving your time, your energy, and your emotional support. Yet, the moment you look for reciprocity, you are left empty-handed. These people thrive because others allow them to. They take without hesitation because they know you will give without question, and the more you give, the more they expect. The danger of allowing this type of person too much access to your life is that it leaves you feeling unappreciated and depleted. Instead of feeling fulfilled by your connections, you begin to feel used. Every conversation becomes less about genuine exchange and more about their needs, their problems, or their desires. Your role shifts from equal participant to resource. And once someone begins to view you only as a source of what they want, your worth in their eyes is no longer tied to who you are, but only to what you can do for them. That is not a healthy connection. It's exploitation wrapped in the disguise of relationship. One of the clearest signs that someone is using you is inconsistency. They are present when they need you, but absent when you need them. They respond quickly when they want something, but are slow or silent when you're reaching out for support. They often mask this selfishness with excuses, being too busy, too tired, or too distracted. But their pattern reveals the truth. Their investment in you is conditional. It exists only as long as your usefulness to them does. When you continue to allow these people in your space, you unconsciously send the message that your needs don't matter as much as theirs, that it's acceptable for them to drain you without giving anything back. Over time, this can lead to resentment, burnout, and even a distorted sense of your own value. But the truth is, your value is not defined by how much you can provide for others. Your worth is not tied to being a constant giver to those who refuse to give in return. Healthy relationships are built on reciprocity, on mutual care, and on shared respect. Learning to recognize the users in your life is an act of self-protection. It doesn't mean you become selfish or stop being generous. It means you become wise about who you give your energy to. It means you realize that love, friendship, and respect should flow both ways. And if someone refuses to meet you halfway, then you have every right to step back and invest your time in people who see your value, not just your usefulness. At the end of the day, people who only take and never give are not worth your time, because your energy is too valuable to waste on relationships that drain rather than replenish. Another type of person you should not waste your time on is the chronic complainer. This is the person who always finds something wrong with every situation, no matter how good it might be. They are never satisfied, always finding a reason to grumble, criticize, or highlight the negative side of things. When you share good news, they downplay it. When you're excited about a new opportunity, they immediately point out what could go wrong. When life is calm, they still find something to worry about or dramatize. Being around them feels like carrying a heavy weight because their mindset and energy are rooted in negativity. At first, you might feel compassion for these people, thinking they are simply going through a rough time or dealing with challenges that make them see life in a darker way. You may even try to cheer them up, offering solutions, encouragement, or a positive perspective. But what you eventually realize is that their complaints are not temporary. They are habitual. No matter how much you encourage them, they cling to their negativity. And slowly, their constant complaining starts affecting your own energy, your outlook, and even your mood. The danger of spending time with chronic complainers is that negativity is contagious. It seeps into your own thinking without you even realizing it. You start doubting your own optimism, questioning your own goals, and sometimes even joining in on the complaining just to connect with them. That shift may seem small at first, but over time, it chips away at your motivation and joy. Instead of focusing on growth, solutions, and gratitude, you find yourself pulled into a cycle of dissatisfaction and frustration. This is exactly why these people are not worth your time, because they don't just waste theirs, they waste yours too. It's important to understand that complainers rarely want solutions. They aren't looking for advice or real change. They are seeking validation for their negativity. They want others to join them in their misery, to agree with their complaints, and to reinforce the belief that life is always unfair or difficult. When you try to offer hope or a different perspective, they often dismiss it or find another problem to highlight. This is why conversations with them rarely feel uplifting or productive. Instead, they drain your energy and leave you feeling worse than before. Another problem with keeping complainers close is that they can make progress and gratitude feel almost impossible. Imagine working hard toward a personal goal only to have them point out all the reasons it might fail. Or imagine celebrating a small victory only for them to say, it's not good enough. Their constant negativity has the power to dim your light. And if you allow it too long, you begin to shrink your dreams just to avoid their criticism. This is not the kind of influence anyone needs in their life. Choosing to distance yourself from chronic complainers doesn't mean you lack compassion or empathy. It means you are protecting your own mental and emotional well-being. Everyone goes through hard times and needs a listening ear. But there's a difference between temporary venting and a lifestyle of constant complaining. The latter becomes toxic, and no amount of positivity on your part will change them if they don't want to change themselves. You deserve to spend time with people who lift you up, who see possibilities instead of problems, and who encourage you to grow rather than hold you back. Life is too short to spend it weighed down by negativity that isn't even yours. By letting go of chronic complainers, you create space for people who will inspire, motivate, and celebrate life with you. At the end of the day, complainers are not worth your time because they steal your joy and replace it with their negativity, and your happiness is far too precious to sacrifice for that. One of the most draining types of people you should not waste your time on is the manipulator. These individuals have a subtle yet powerful way of controlling others to serve their own interests. They may appear charming, helpful, or even caring at first, but underneath the surface, their intentions are rarely genuine. Manipulators are skilled at twisting words, bending situations, and using emotional tactics to make you doubt yourself, give in to their demands, or prioritize their needs over your own. Being around them can leave you constantly second guessing your actions and questioning whether you're ever good enough. The danger of manipulators lies in how cunningly they disguise their behavior. They don't often make outright demands. Instead, they plant seeds of guilt, use flattery strategically, or position themselves as victims to get what they want. For example, they may say things like, "After everything I've done for you, you can't even do this one thing for me?" Or, "I guess I just care more than you do." Statements like these may sound innocent, but they are designed to make you feel guilty, selfish, or inadequate, all so you'll bend to their will. Over time, this constant guilt tripping chips away at your self-esteem and makes you easier to control. Another tactic manipulators use is gaslighting, making you question your memory, your feelings, or even your perception of reality. You may recall an event clearly, but they'll insist it never happened or that you misunderstood. Slowly, this erodes your confidence in yourself, leaving you reliant on them for validation. And once they realize they have that kind of influence, they tighten their grip further. What makes this so harmful is that it often happens so gradually that you don't even notice you're being manipulated until you're deeply entangled. Manipulators also thrive on exploiting kindness. They know who the empathetic, giving, and loyal people are, and they target those traits. If you're the type of person who naturally wants to help, they'll use that against you, always finding ways to pull at your heartstrings. They may dramatize their struggles, exaggerate their needs, or constantly create crises just so you'll step in to save them. The problem is, no matter how much you give, it's never enough because their goal is not resolution, it's control. Being caught in the orbit of a manipulator drains your energy and distracts you from your own growth. You spend so much time trying to please them, avoid conflict, or live up to their moving standards that your own goals and happiness take a back seat. The more power you give them, the harder it becomes to reclaim your independence. And the truth is, manipulators rarely change because their methods work for them and they get what they want at the expense of others. And unless they are confronted or cut off, they see no reason to stop. Protecting yourself from manipulators requires clarity and boundaries. You must learn to trust your instincts when something feels off, no matter how much they try to convince you otherwise. It means refusing to engage with guilt tactics, standing firm in your truth, and recognizing that you are not responsible for their emotions or fabricated crises. Sometimes the only solution is distance, removing yourself completely from their influence and surrounding yourself with people who respect you instead of using you. Life is far too short to spend it entangled in someone else's manipulations. You deserve relationships built on honesty, respect, and mutual care, not ones designed to keep you small and controlled. When you let go of manipulators, you reclaim your power, your peace, and your freedom. And that is something far too valuable to sacrifice.